Welcome back to Anchor Designs. I'm James, and today we're going to be looking at upgrades for the Myford Ml7. The first one being a quick tool change post holder. I bought this from RDG Tool Supplies over in Halifax. If you've got a Myford lathe, chances are you've probably got them. I've never fitted one of these to a Myford before. I've had a few Myfords in the past, but never with the benefit of a quick tool changer. I've always kind of managed to get by with the one that comes on it, and it's been okay. The problem that I've got now is that I'm wanting to use taller and larger style tooling, which this you can't. I think you're kind of stuck to an 8mm. Whereas I want to be looking at 10mm, 3/8 thick material. So we're going to whip this off, see how it fits. I've been told that some of them I need to make a adapter plate for this because of how the actual tool holder sits. So come along, follow along and see how we get on. So this is the box that you're going to get. I think this retails at around £90. Unless you go to one of the shows that they do, which I got this one. I think it cost me 85. So they'll knock a little bit off for you. So you've got the main body of the post itself, which is going to come like this. It's going to be coated with some pretty manky grease, so you'll need to degrease this with something like brake cleaner, carb cleaner, acetone, something like that. And then we might look at bluing this as well with some cold blue. So we're going to see what the fit up's like and see what modification we have to give to this right here. Straight out of the bat, this is very, very clearly not the most highly quality manufactured part. So the thing is very, very dirty. There's, I'm going to call it cosmoline. There's grit all inside the pistons here where they haven't cleaned it. Inside these bores here are, I mean, that's pretty poor really. I mean, I've never seen anything as bad as that. So this is going to need to be fully stripped down, fully cleaned. It feels awful. I don't know if you can hear that, but it feels awful. Shocking, that is. But that's why we don't make anything anymore, because we're too expensive. So that's why we sub this sort of stuff out, places like India, China, etc. But that is no pride in your work at all. But that's why it's 90 quid, so I can't moan. Because the reality is, you know, if this was 200 quid, 300 quid, would you buy it? I don't think I would. I don't think I could afford to do that. I had a lot of time umming and ahhing whether I was going to spend 90 quid on it. So, can I moan? Can we make it better? Yes, we can make it better. Okay, after you've cleaned everything up, what you want to do is go ahead and get your Allen key and take these off. So these are 5/32 size Allen keys, or Allen head I should say. This is the key. So remove these, take this off and give it a good clean, and let's get started installing. When you've taken these off and apart, I'm going to put everything back in a sandwich bag, so when I die or I come to sell the lathe, I've still got the original tool post and everything is together. Sandwich bag, handy thing. If, like me, you've just put everything away in a little sandwich bag, then you'll realise that you need this to go onto there. However, as you can see, this is too big. So, two options really. We either reduce this, which I think you're still going to foul on top of these when these are at adjustment, or we're either going to make a new, longer bushing that is smaller than this, for then this to be seated onto the top. So let's cut some stock off, make this to size, put it in the lathe. Job's a fish. Okay, so we have everything cleared up. Took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but my final review of this set is it is a really good bargain for what, I mean, 90 quid, 85 quid, whatever. You even get a high-speed steel parting tool as well. Yes, it's a bit dirty when it gets here. Yes, there's horrific burrs on these, so you have to run a bit of a needle file to go over them. Comes with spare bolts as well. I mean, I can't really moan. If I was to change anything, I might change these to stainless steel. Not that you really need to if you have a better environment in your workshop than I do. Maybe clean them up a little bit more, like, you know, burrs off and things like this. But if it means it's going to be 90 quid and this is something that you can do yourself, I think I'd rather pay the 90 quid and get my needle file out and spend half an hour cleaning these up, making sure that they're nice and clean. And, you know, if you need to buy any more of these holders, you know, the standardized, so you can just go back to, well, RDG or whoever you buy them off, and they've got them and you can buy them individually. I looked at the aluminium ones that you can buy off like Banggood and Wish, and they've got pretty high and low reviews, but this, I can't complain at these. Yeah, there's a few niggly bits, as I've said. Yes, you have to do a bit of modification, but end of the day, you know, this is a toy. Effectively, it's a toy that we play with, and it's a little upgrade that's not going to break the bank. Yes, it's expensive, but it's okay. If I was to predict anything was going to break, I'd say it would be this, because this is pretty, I'd say it's poorly made, but it does a purpose, it suits the job. I can't really moan. Yeah, things like this, the quality aspect of it isn't that great, but let's put it on the lathe and see how it performs. Sorry if you can hear the weather outside. We're just in the middle of having the British summertime, and it's pouring it down, and it's very, very cold and very, very windy. With this, it may look a little bit funny because I haven't used all the threads on the tool post, but if you look, we haven't got much clearance from here. I could probably drop this down a mil or two if I wanted to, but it's going to serve its purpose, because you don't want to be fouling on these and then this still be accessible, just in case you were wondering. So you could use washers if you wanted to, but I want this to be as solid as possible. This feels really good. I'll put a stone on this just off camera, just to flatten off any burrs and anything like that with a light film of oil that I did put on the camera. One thing I have noticed is my top slide has a little bit of a wiggle, so I'm going to very just quickly adjust that to make sure it's okay. Okay, next off, what you want to do is when you put your tool in the tool holder is make sure it is in line and where you want to be engaging in the cut. You want it to the center of the bar stock that you've got in your chuck. So you can do this a few ways. You can use a steel rule. The old trick, if you put that in there and you put it on the tip and everything's magic and a winner. I use this because it was expensive, and I will use it because it was expensive. So it's made by a company, Edge Technology. It's effectively a spirit level on here, and this bar goes into your chuck to guarantee the height is correct for your tool bits. I use this on my bigger Colchester machine, and it's pretty handy for that, because when you get a bigger tool and a slightly bigger stock, then yeah, something like this you can adjust it a bit more with eye and feel and actually looking at the chips itself, but this is quite nice to rest assurance. So what you want to do is lower it out. There we go, like so. Oh, that's pretty good actually. Clamp it up. Now it can move when you do this, which it probably will. I'm going to have the top one like so, and that's pretty good. Yeah, we'll take that. So now this is going to have you the exact height for cutting, he says. Okay, next off is it can be quite expensive, but it is, for me, a really simple upgrade for the Myford, which is putting on kind of a really heavy-duty base plate. So it's a 15mm thick plate of steel with the holes laser cut out, and this spans across the whole length of the base of the Myford, and it fits this 36-inch tool chest, which I bought from a company called Halfords, which is like a automotive store that you can buy tools, oils and car wash stuff, etc. And it's the advanced one, so it's got, I don't know, a level of guarantee with it, and built really well. As I've mentioned in my last Myford video, the standard Myford cabinet, in my opinion, is pretty awful to use with. For me, I'm just over 6 foot. It's a similar height, but it's very narrow, and the storage of it is pretty terrible. So I'll show you what I've done with this and a bit more of a detail on this base plate. Okay, so I'm hoping you have got a little bit of a better view now. This is the base plate, as you can see, across the whole length of the lathe, and it's bolted through the tool chest cabinet, which makes it nice, sturdy and strong. The downside to this is this workshop, as I've mentioned previously, is only temporary. I'm hoping to be out of here very shortly. That'll be upcoming soon. So this does rock. You'll probably notice that on the videos. However, actually strength-wise to this, very strong. This lathe will be leveled eventually, and it will be done on this base plate. You can buy Myford leveling blocks. They're about 80 quid now for a piece of steel. You know, the people have gone mad for them. Don't really understand why. I mean, the cast, you know, they're pretty, don't get me wrong, but 80 quid is a lot. So I paid less than that for this plate here, which I feel takes a lot of the vibration out of the machine, and it is a very good deadener. Back to the cabinet. So as I mentioned, this is Halford's Advance. This is around 400 quid retail, but if you have one of the membership cards, I paid 220 quid for one of these, so I bought two because I was prepared to go for 400 quid, and it keeps all your storage for milling, lathe stuff, meteorology. I'm just going to bend you down here. That's my meteorology stuff, and that's whey oil, rags, you know, things like that. So everything is kept in here nice, and the soft close as well, which is very nice. Like so. So these, highly recommend it. Top tip, don't put it on the Myford Facebook page because you get slaughtered by the old boys saying it's not original and it's a terrible tool cabinet. It's worked for me so far. I ain't got a problem with it. So, toolbox, that's one. Base plate, another one. You know, anything to do with hobbies, and especially on lathes and engineering, nothing is cheap. So, you know, these things are going to cost you, but I think they're affordable. You know, it's not crazy prices. Next off, this is a Myford lathe drip tray. I had this made. I didn't have the facilities to make this in-house, so this has been punched on a puncher machine, and it's been TIG welded on a TIG welding machine. It is done out of stainless steel. Wasn't my choice. The subcontractor that did this for me, I think they were kind of doing me a favour, and it's the steel that they had in stock, so this was great of them to do that. But mirror polished stainless will look pretty before you use it, so it's going to get scratched and marked. So before I probably install this, I would probably, I don't know, run over with a DA and Scotch Brite this, potentially, but it does look very blingy. The file to actually get this cut and for you to have this outsourced and made is on the Myford Lathe Facebook page, and it's a DXF, which is a CAD drawing, and a PDF for visual drawing. So you'll need To get one of these made, you'll probably need a DXF to give to a laser cutters or a sheet metal shop near you, and you'll need the PDF, which gives you your bend height to do this on a press brake, which, you know, that's the kind of the important bit to work out these. From the drawing, I didn't draw it myself, I just got this made. The company that I took it to didn't have the punching sizes, so they rang me up and said, can you just drill the holes manually? Didn't really want to do that, so yeah, not a problem. And there's also should be a coolant hole roughly around here. I didn't want that because I don't run my Myford with that, so they took that out, and they didn't also put the mounting holes in, which isn't a problem. I've got my big base plate, I can use a transfer punch to put this on here and then install it back on the lathe. So I'm not going to show doing this because it's pretty straightforward, but I believe that this will be a massive improvement for the lathe. Cost wise, this is going to cost you around 200 quid to get this done. It sounds a lot, it's a bit of metal. I had it done in stainless steel because I'm going to probably have this lathe for a number of years. So yeah, why not spend the money? This is also going to be press braked, which takes a man, it's probably a half-hour job to get the setup, etc., and then to be TIG welded. So there's probably about 4 hours work in this easily, especially if you didn't have the program. So I think that is the key. But the program on Facebook Myford homepage is pretty good, so I'm told. So it's pretty much plug and play with this. Okay. That's going to be a conclusion for today, guys. So we've put on the quick tool change post on there. We've had to clean everything up. I've shown you a few of the upgrades and updates that I have done. There will be some future ones that's kind of dependent on funds. So I'd love to put a VFD on here with a 3-phase motor, variable frequency drive. So what, in case you don't know, that allows you to adjust the speed of the motor, which is quite nice. You don't have to change the belt as often. Myford gear change, etc., really does confuse me. So I'd love to put a gearbox on this eventually, but so would a lot of other people, which has kind of driven up the prices of gearboxes mental in the last year or so. So if I can find one that's in pretty decent condition, that'll need to be done. On mine it came with the oilers at the back, and it came with the clutch on the top. If you haven't got a clutch, really recommend that. I don't like the forward and reverse switch that you get. I'm not a fan of that, because my fat gut seems to knock them. So I had one on my last Myford I had about 4 years ago, wasn't a fan. But that's just me, you know. For me, next step would be gearbox, VFD. Oh, and the big one, of course, is the linear scales on here. So to have a digital readout, something I've looked into, but again, you know, it's more and more money. If you're thinking about getting a Myford, I would bite the bullet and go for it because the prices are rocketing. 5 years ago, I bought a Myford for 180 quid. And that was kind of £200 mark. It was a bit of a snotter, but you know, prices now they're reaching like £1,000 for a basic Myford now. Yeah, I would not be able to afford that. So for me, Myfords, love them, great, lots of old boys, very, very clever, a lot cleverer than I am, with tips and tricks on those, which is great. But great machines. They're going to outlive me. Brilliant, you know, really, really good. So highly recommend one. Tool changer, yeah, pretty good. This, really recommend it. It's completely transformed how it feels. Well, that sounds a bit daft. End of the day, it is a small lathe, although it's probably in its class, the best in its class for size and, you know, motor sizes, etc., and capacity. But you're never going to be taking off, you know, a 4mm, 8mm cut, etc. It's not that machine at all, which took a long time for me to get used to, from going into a work environment into a home shop. Just not going to do it. but it's better than any Chinese mill I've ever seen. So if you like the video and you want more tips and tricks, please hit that subscribe, give me a like if you don't mind, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Yeah, I almost forgot. These are a barbecue cover that you can buy from B&Q, and they're about £8, but they're a really good material. So I have one on my Myford. I don't know what size it is, but it's the longer one. There's, I think you can buy 3, it's the longest one. And then this one is just a normal size barbecue cover. B&Q, spot on. Really good, weatherproof and breathable as well. Breathable is important. That's 5 tips. Bargain.